Inclusive Innovations 2023, creating a more accessible future together. Tech Demo, Biped. Mael Fabien, CEO, co-founder at Biped.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mael. I'm the co-founder of a startup named Biped, and I just want to tell you in a brief 5 minutes the story behind Biped and what we're building. So Biped is an obstacle avoidance device. It's a harness that is worn on the shoulders. To briefly describe the product, it sits on your shoulders like a small harness. It has a camera module on the left side of the chest that has 3 cameras, one looking on the left, middle, and right. And on the right side of the chest, it has a small computer that is running artificial intelligence. Behind the neck, there is a battery. The whole device is black. It's a plastic case that is built on top. And there are a couple of straps just on the shoulders that can be bent. The idea behind Biped started about 2.5 years ago. At the time, I was in Lausanne. So in Switzerland, I met a blind person who was crossing the street and doing a FaceTime call to a friend. And his friend was helping him just avoid electric scooters that were newly deployed in the city. And I just found that he was doing a waving pattern from left to right. And I just asked randomly, what are you doing? And is there any way technology could help in that sense? And he actually redirected me to the ophthalmic hospital because we have a pretty big ophthalmic hospital in Lausanne in Switzerland. And I met their innovation team, and they told me, well, there are a couple of things out there, electronic white canes, for example, but we haven't really found something right now that would basically anticipate that there is something coming in your way and that might be at risk of collision later. And I sort of thought that this is something that self-driving cars have basically solved, and started looking into what could be built. At the time, I was doing a PhD in artificial intelligence. I met my co-founder at a hackathon, Bruno, who's a computer vision engineer from Germany. And we started to develop a very first thing that was a belt back then. Bad idea, because you have when you're using the cane, of course, you have your hand with the cane movement that is basically occluding the camera in point in time. And so we started to do beta testing, bring up the point of view of the cameras to the shoulders. So first we bought a GoPro harness and put a camera in the middle. And what we were doing back then was basically scan from left to right and tell that there is a car on the left, there is a crosswalk in the middle, a pedestrian on the right, and it was an absolute overload of information back then. Of course, we didn't know how to prioritize the information. But then we kept listening to user feedback, and they told us that what would make sense is to have the device be silent most of the time, but whenever there is something that has an actual risk of collision, be able to bring a quick sound that could be understood and that could be then tailored depending on the needs of specific users. And so what's happening right now in the device is that in real time, it can detect that there is, for example, a pedestrian on the left, that this pedestrian is walking closer and closer to you, that there will be a risk of collision in a couple of seconds. And then once we have confirmed the risk of collision, we start playing a sound in headphones. So you can use bone conduction headphones. We can stream the sound on the phone also directly. And you will just hear a beep, 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 beep as the obstacle is coming closer, just like the parking assist of a car. Then the sounds can be tuned basically depending on the type of obstacle that's coming closer. So you can have a different sound if it's a car, or a different sound if it's a pedestrian, or if it's a hole in the ground. And what we are doing gradually is just keep adding features based on customer feedback. We have newly integrated the GPS also. That was a long-awaited kind of feature for us. We started commercializing the device about 6 months ago, so that's fresh out of R&D, I'd say, and kind of learning the new activity of trying to promote Biped as a device that is commercially available. But the biggest part of our job keeps being, how do we reduce the number of sounds that are generated and only provide meaningful content when it is actually required? And to tell you a tiny bit about the vision that we have, since it's a camera-based device, and I think this is also where the beauty of some of the innovations of the whole team at Envision, and thanks again for the invitation. It really enables a lot of AI-based applications also to happen directly from the shoulders that can be helpful with mobility. And I'm thinking, for example, about you're reaching your destination, you have typed a GPS destination and you're getting to building number 35, for example, but how do you know where the entrance is? A door detection can make its way to Biped, for example, and then you can start detecting the entrance or reading the text that is in front of a building to know that you're about to enter the correct building. Or when the GPS tells you cross the street and then turn left, where's the crosswalk in the middle? This is all these kind of features that I think can be enabled by sensor fusion, so using cameras, using GPS, collaborating with other companies in this space. And that's a bit of the story with Biped, and I'd be happy to also run live demos at the tech demos right behind. Thank you very much.
Inclusive Innovations 2023. Creating a more accessible future together.